Good morning, Magic 100 listeners and Forsyth Cable viewers. You tuned into the reporter on the air. I am Will Davis. He's Richard Dumas, and there's a giant void in the room.
What could it be?
The presence of
the one and only Don Daniel.
Do we have a nickname for Don? He always insists on calling you the dude. What could we call Don? The Donator. The Donator.
He's
Donatrix.
Miles curmudgeon.
Yeah, he likes that one. But he is seeing the Great West in the Big Sky Country in Montana. And I asked him, he called the other day, Richard, and I said, well, it must be nice and cool up there. What is the temperature in Montana?
Is it over 100?
It's 100 degrees.
100, okay.
Did you know that?
No, but it's hot everywhere. So
I guess so. Even up on the Canadian border.
It's global warming.
There you go. The whole globe is warming. Thanks for joining, and you've tuned in to the only podcast devoted just to Monroe County. We talk about what's going on in Forsyth, and Richard covers the reporter covers the local school board, the city council, the board of commissioners. We cover sports, we cover accidents, we cover traffic, we cover crime, we cover politics. We don't miss much.
Not much, no.
For there to be only three of us writing.
Pretty much.
The newsroom is convened in a phone booth, but we get it done. And Richard, what stands out to you this week? There's a lot going on. I don't even know where to start. We've got sports, we got news.
We had a murder last week, which is unusual for here. That's not something we cover often.
Thankfully, it's not. When was the last murder we had in the city of Forsyth?
Well, I think the Lieutenant Daniels told I won't say him, someone at the Forsyth Police Department told the Bacon Station that it was the Heaven Woods murder.
That's what I was thinking.
But I don't think that's true, because remember you went to the one where there was a murder-suicide there at the apartment complex just north of town?
Yeah.
And he fled and went to Culloden?
Yeah.
He killed himself later in Culloden in the car, but
Okay,
they actually that was in the city.
That was after
Yeah, that was more recent than Heaven.
Okay. Well, there you go. And we don't know, I can't remember their names, but I remember it was right there, going towards Barnesville.
He was an out-of-towner.
Mm-hmm. He had fled to Barnesville. Over a girl, maybe?
He came here because he thought that she was going to see her at the apartment or something, and he killed her aunt or something like that.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, that
didn't go to trial because he killed himself right after that.
There was going to be, when the suspect is dead, there's no trial.
Usually how it goes.
It's usually how it goes. I guess they could, let's clear the record, let's set the record and say what happened, but anyway.
Then what if he got acquitted? So they just don't risk that. It'd get weird.
Have you seen the news, speaking of putting a dead man on trial, have you seen the popular thing now in the funeral homes where they're propping up the beloved and like having to play video games or something?
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, a teenager died in New Orleans and his family had him propped up playing video games because they could remember him as he was.
How long did that last?
Well, I guess not. Oh yeah, I guess so. That was for the wake.
Okay. That's kind of scary.
Kind of weird, kind of creepy. But anyway, yeah, we had a murder in Forsyth on Jones Court, and Richard, tell our listeners, tell our viewers what happened if they haven't heard.
Well, at least at first appearance, it's a domestic dispute. A man, the homeowner, Raymond Chambliss, was charged with the murder of his girlfriend, 49-year-old Tanya Herring, and exactly the details of what went down, we're not real sure, but she was shot and she was found in the yard. We do know that. And a neighbor called 911 and reported it, and they had enough evidence at the scene, according to Lieutenant Daniels, to make the arrest.
Yeah.
But they turned the case over to the GBI, so exactly all the details.
Why were they fighting? Why did he shoot her? We don't know.
We don't know all that.
Well, there's only two people that were there. One of them's dead, and one of them is probably may be taking the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, he's refused to speak, to cooperate with officers, at least at the night of the murder he did. So, but they, he didn't confess, so they had enough evidence to bring him in and arrest him. So
may have a trial to cover.
Probably will have a trial.
Yeah. Well, he had been Well, let's just say this way, the headline in the paper is "Cops Called to Home Before." See, we always aim here at the Reporter, Richard, as you know, we always try to tell people something they don't. Everybody, a lot of people had heard about the murder, it was in the making media,
Well, I will say sources in the Forsyth Police Department who knew them personally said that they did not know of discord up until these incidents that we
in the past year.
in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Really.
I'm a little confused because I was told by Mr. Daniels that they lived there together, but according to the incident reports that you discovered,
I think it may be a come and go.
Okay.
Thing. I don't,
Maybe
some
sometimes-
weeks she's living there.
sometimes not.
When they're
Yeah,
things
are going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting along.
Yeah. She
Okay.
has her own house in Brookwood though. So
Okay,
that's-
there you go.
So I don't know how often she stays there. But
Yeah.
that probably was a common occurrence.
Well, it's a tragic situation. We didn't mention this in the story, but I'm sure a lot of people in town are talking about the fact that it's the aunt of University of Georgia football player Malik Herring, and he has expressed on Twitter, publicly expressed his sadness with what happened, and I think he attended the funeral. So it's affected a lot of people in Forsyth, and we'll continue to follow it and see why if Mr. Chambliss is indeed guilty. See what consequences he faces. He's in his 60s, so he may not enjoy freedom again.
No, I mean I don't think he will if he gets convicted.
Yeah,
I don't think any kind of first degree murder is probably 25 years minimum.
Minimum, yeah. Maybe when he's 89, he'll get out.
Probably before he sees parole.
Yeah. In other news, speaking of law enforcement, Richard, it was a big week for law enforcement. Our first open sheriff's election in a generation.
Before I was born.
Yeah, maybe 2 generations. And as expected, 6 candidates have qualified. There are no surprises so far. Everybody that said they were going to
Still
run
got 58 minutes.
cut that
I
$1,700
can still
check.
go run.
Huh?
I'll have to leave here and go pay my money.
That's right.
So,
Who wants to sign? Maybe some late comers. We'll see. Checking next week's paper, we'll let you know if anybody signed up late. What are they going? What does the county do with that $1,700 they collected times 6?
I'd have to ask you that. I don't know what they do with it. Do
They collected over $9,000.
they pay for the next election?
Right.
Yeah.
Pay for paper ballots.
Yeah, I imagine it goes right back into the general fund of the office there.
Must
So
could be.
I don't know that for sure.
Well, it's going to be
Do the
interesting.
losers get reimbursed?
That would be a good idea. And then everybody would run. The state of Georgia sets the fee at 3% of the annual salary, which is
I guess it goes
$80,000.
to the state. That's probably true.
Maybe it moves to the state.
State's general fund instead
Yeah.
of the money.
They always like to get their hands on it. They can always find a way to spend it. So anyway, stay tuned to the Reporter for election coverage.
Someone listening to this knows the answer to that and thinks we're idiots right now, but I've never really paid attention to where.
Nobody's ever asked. What do they do with the money?
$1,000 go?
We'll see what happens. The Reporter will host a debate in October. We're working on that now, and look forward to hearing from the candidates. And Richard, I'm kind of enjoying this one. We stuck our necks out. I stuck my neck out and endorsed in the school board election.
You got one right.
But I don't think I'm going to touch this one. I think I could sit back and not have a dog in the fight and just enjoy the fireworks.
Just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see how it all lines up.
If someone gets charged with a felony before then, we might not can endorse them. But who knows? There's still 3 months. What's
What?
going to be weird is about half the force won't be working at the sheriff's office for the next 3 months because they're all
Yes,
sheriff.
that's right. Let's see. Lawson Bennett had to step away, had to turn in his badge.
Stacey Penman.
Stacey Penman had to turn in his badge.
Brad
And Frew.
And you got the head of the jail, the public information officer, and then one of the other, leaders in the department.
Yeah.
Stacey,
So it's going to be thin coverage. I don't know. We need to ask the sheriff Al Shackelford to sort of fill in until the election.
No matter how thin it is, it's less thin than the Forsyth Police Department right now. So things are still operating real well in the sheriff's office. They're down to 8 in Forsyth PD right now.
Golly. Whew.
I think at one point they had about 18. So
How do they staff all those shifts?
Major Foster's back on the road.
A lot of overtime.
So some of the guys who are used to doing the desk work are now back out
That's
on
bad.
patrol.
They can't hire enough people.
Yeah.
Other news, schools are back in session. They went back to school this past Monday. It was going to be Friday, Richard, but had a little problem.
There was some mold.
The mold in
A
Upper
mold situation.
middle
I had to get a
school.
picture in the paper that wasn't the real mold, but it looked good anyway.
Yeah, it looked like, what was penicillin? Is that what they said it was? Penicillus amexarolis. It was, I'm not real good on the.
Anyway, they had some flooding at the old Hubbard building.
Well, they had to combine it.
Middle school.
They sent all the sixth graders over to Bank Stevens on Thornton Road, and let me just say, as a parent, traffic has been rather thick, shall we say. But Monroe County Schools have about 4,000 students this year, a little bit of an increase over last year. And also in school news, Monroe County Schools touting test scores showing they're in the top 20 in the state of Georgia out of 180 school systems.
Maybe over 200, 182.
Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good. So, congratulations to the Monroe County Schools and teachers who make it happen.
Do you think some school systems don't test because between city and county school systems there should be more than 182, right? I mean, there's a whole lot of city systems that are different from.
Yeah, you got 159
Like
counties.
Gainesville, who were playing football next week, they got Gainesville and Hall County all have different.
Yeah. Social circle.
Right. So it's what, 159 counties.
Buford.
There's way more than 23 cities, but some may be combined.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking there's maybe some that don't have enough students to qualify and/or don't participate in the numbers.
It's a good question because one of the ways you can make your test scores look better is by not having everyone test. It's well known that Georgia's always ranked in 48th on the SAT, and I'm told it's because the other states that in Georgia lots and lots of kids take the SAT, whereas excuse me, got the sleepy bug. Some states
It's the first for TV, I think. Have a yawn.
yeah,
on
big
there.
yawn. Excuse me.
Like they're viral.
They have a big, in some states like Iowa, I've heard that only the very top students take the SAT, and that really makes your scores look better.
Yeah.
So maybe Monroe County Schools have figured out a way to get the.
Well, that kind of goes back to what the new school board member Greg has been pushing to have alternate education for. I mean, SAT is good if you're going to college. It's not really useful if you're not. You're just taking it for the purposes of state testing.
If you want to go to the trades and.
Right, so maybe Georgia can do more of that if
send
the
them.
direction's not for every kid to go attend a
Keep
college.
the vocational kids away from the test scores.
I mean, I'm fine with the way Georgia's doing it. I think every kid probably should participate. We can see what kind of, I think it's more accurate.
The market barometer
Yeah,
of
barometer.
how you're doing, yeah. But it certainly doesn't make our scores look good, but a lot more people take it. And the Hope Scholarship probably has a lot to do with that because in Georgia, if you have good grades, it's free to go to college. So hey, let's take the SAT and see how we do.
It's true.
County line, Richard. We've talked about it for years and years, a decade now. And
It's the noose that's hanging around Brian Kemp. He's
Yeah,
just so
that's it.
concerned about it. I don't know how he gets up each day.
Now, the big news broke this past week that Brian Kemp, he's now the nominee. Let's just say the likely next governor, if he can win this election, because Georgia hadn't voted for a Democrat statewide in 10 years, at least. Well, when did Purdue win? 2002, 16 years ago. So we haven't had a Democrat since
20 though, because Roy Barnes was elected back in '98.
Well, Barnes was 2002, right?
Purdue got elected.
Yeah.
You said, but a Democrat. You said a Democrat hadn't been.
Elected,
Elected,
yeah.
yeah,
Right, if
20
he had
years.
4 more years, right, 20 years. Good point. So let's just say Kemp's the favorite. And as he gets ready for his November race, he's now making noises, much to my surprise. I am surprised. I told you, I think I mentioned on this show, that I didn't think he was going to touch it. He was focused on his governor's race.
He still probably won't.
He still probably won't, but they're putting more.
Who cares what he's saying?
Yeah, that's true. Don't watch what politicians say. Watch what
I mean, they
do.
had to have a response because the Macon Telegraph called them to ask about it
Yeah.
after he was
Oh
elected.
yeah, he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Actually,
So that was their.
he's a man of his job.
Exactly. I mean, if they had said no, he didn't plan to do anything.
Nah, he's just got to ride out the clock.
That would have probably
That's
not
good.
been a good decision.
That's a good
so.
point. So anyway, we did
Had
it.
he brought this up prior to being the nominee,
Might have some
yeah,
credibility.
might have some credibility. But
Well, we called his office and they told us that yes, they do plan. That his plan is, and he wants to solve this by the end of his term in January. And you know, one of the things they're waiting on is the Court of Appeals to rule whether Terry Scarborough has to testify and take questions from Bibb County, which is a hostile party to his survey. Doesn't like his survey. Brian Kemp rejected the survey once, and then the Supreme Court said, not so fast. You got to do something. You got to set the line. You got to resolve the issue. It's your job. And, but
I hope when he's governor, they make him come back for the hearings.
That would be good.
He has to at least sit in there
He's
with
a
the rest
party.
of us.
He's come too far to quit.
That's right.
Richard, we've found, like I said, we always try to find out something people don't know. And one of the things we found out is that, hey, if the Court of Appeals says, yes, Mr. Scarborough, you do have to testify. Let's just say that happens. We learned something. Mr. Scarborough told us something, how he's going to respond, Richard. And that was...
He's still not going to.
He's still like, it doesn't matter what the Court of Appeals says. We have a Fifth Amendment right under the Constitution to say nothing.
Well, and he hasn't said that he won't talk to Kemp. He said that he won't allow Bibb County to cross-examine him.
Right, and I think that's...
And his whole argument is that it wouldn't even be cross-examination because that's not really allowed in a non-court hearing.
Yeah. I mean, people say he's crazy, and Monroe County says, oh, he's not helping us, but he's got a point, doesn't he?
Oh, he's got a point.
He makes a
I don't think
case.
He's necessarily been helpful through
Yeah.
the whole process,
Right.
but he's got a point.
Right. So now that may put a damper on Kemp's proclaimed plan to resolve this, but maybe he knew that all along. And
Yeah, he knew what
he
he
knew
was.
what he did. Okay. Well, we'll see. Mark Richard Down is absolutely skeptical, downright cynical, that this thing will be resolved. They
Well,
can't make a
Brian
decision.
Kemp, yeah, maybe the next person.
Yeah, he's going to punt it. I think you're right.
Raffensperger will be the
Finally get it done.
John Barrett.
10 years ago today, as we record this show, we had a shooting here in Forsyth area. But we mentioned the murder we had on Jones Court last week. But you know, it's one thing to have a murder in a home, well, in a yard that's maybe in a different part of town. But when you have a shooting in one of the most public places, one of the gathering places in the middle of Forsyth, Georgia, the Dairy Queen, it leaves a mark. And it's the 10-year anniversary of that shooting when Zapario Glover was gunned down, former Mayor Person's football player, was gunned down in the Dairy Queen parking lot. It struck him in the chest. He was getting, it was a Sunday night, he was getting a blizzard and a double cheeseburger, and he was shot in the chest and it hit his spinal cord. He's paralyzed now. And we have a reflections this week, sort of looking back, talking to some of those involved, and just an interesting look back at how it went. And good to see Zapario has a great attitude. He's not angry about what happened. The three assailants are all serving long prison sentences.
Scary thing, they killed somebody later.
Yeah, and that was how Zapario ended the story.
It
He
wasn't
says,
just a robbery. They were shooting to kill repeatedly.
right,
in
they
different
were
places.
out to kill people, to get their rims of their truck.
Yeah, it's a good reason.
It's awful, and glad it got solved. And John Kerry Biddick, the sheriff, then said it was the worst case, hardest case he's covered that was not a murder in his 30 years as sheriff. So that's probably accurate, and it affected
35 years.
35 years, and it affected this town because we have a Mayberry image and we like a small town where we feel safe. And I certainly feel safe here. But it's a reminder that really, you're always, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Even in Forsyth, a guy could be at the Dairy Queen and be shot in the chest. he had a 1986 Caprice Classic, Richard. That they wanted those rims and they stole the car. And they found the car in Putnam County and ended up finding the suspects. But one interesting thing, and one thing we can be proud of that shows we still have those Mayberry tendencies, is how the community rallied around Zamario, raised money for him to get a car with hand controls where he can drive, and he still uses it to this day. He helps coach the Monroe Elite Tigers travel football team, and
he's a good guy. I didn't know him. I mean, I wasn't here when the shooting happened, but I know him now. And he does a good job with children.
He does, and he's a big Mary Purses fan. He still loves the Bulldogs, and his best friend, interestingly, is Mario Harvey, who went on to play for Marshall University football. They were football teammates at Mary Purses, and Mario went on to play in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, and now he's back in Forsyth, and they're coaching together, coaching the Elite Tigers together. And one interesting thing, the day it happened, August 10th, is also Mario's birthday. So a bittersweet day for that friendship and their families. Richard, you had a big preview of the softball.
Today, actually, it's the anniversary of it.
Yeah, it is. The softball preview, the Lady Dogs.
That's what we take.
Richard, what do you think about our softball team this year?
Well, 2 years ago, they were the best team in the region by far.
Yeah.
It was probably a disappointment they didn't make it deeper into state. They won a school record 26 games or something like that. Last year they fell on hard times. Let's put it. They lost 7 seniors from that team that was really good. So they went 11-19 last year and squeaked into the state playoffs. I think they're going to be a little bit better this year. They're probably going to be in between that group, probably back to being above 500. Another playoff season, but I'm not sure they're ready to actually beat the elite teams in the state.
But at least they might be more competitive than last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty good.
Already have been, right? Had a couple wins.
Well, they played Ace, which is like just starting
New
out.
school.
Yeah. They're a little early in their football program. I mean, their softball program, but they got 6 juniors and seniors back. Well, 5, I guess, that started last year. And then their best player, maybe a sophomore, Alyssa Roser, hit 8 home runs as a freshman. So she already hit one the first game. So
wow.
She could be the best player on the team.
Was this an inside the park home run or an absolute
No, she hits them out.
a fence blaster?
She bombs them.
Sweet.
So
next home game is not until
next
the
week
15th.
it'll be Thursday.
Wednesday. So go check them out. They're playing Lamar County at home on Wednesday. So go check out the Lady Dogs. Hope they have a great season. And this coming week, you can read all about the real team in Forsyth that you are most concerned about.
The cheerleading squad?
That's right, the band.
The possible state champion cheerleading squad? Oh, okay. The football team.
We have a football team in Forsyth. Did y'all know we have a football team, the Mary Purses Bulldogs? They open play. We can't talk about the scrimmage because it's happening
Go ahead
tonight.
and predict a victory.
We'll go and predict that Southwest is going down.
You do it all the time.
We feel real confident. I guarantee you that. That's like the inter squad scrimmage. We always know we'll win that one. But anyway, next week, Friday night, the first game of the year
Against Gainesville.
The Gainesville
We
Elephants.
have no idea where Gainesville's going to provide. I mean, supposedly they had some transfers.
Ooh.
And
They have a tradition.
they had some go out. They may have had some come in too, but
Great football tradition.
their coach, been the coach for 16 seasons, retired. So I think some people left after that. They got the Wander Barrow coach came over to coach them this year. The most interesting thing about that is I look back at Gainesville scores last year. They had 4 and 7, but one of their wins was by 20 points over the team that they hired their coach.
Wander Barrow.
They beat Heath Webb by 20 points, and then they hired him.
Apparently, he was already helping them before he was hired.
Maybe so. I found that to be weird, but
Hey guys, I want to work. I want to go work for that school. Y'all
they're
just
only
lay down.
the MP coach pointed out they did play for the 6A state basketball championship last year, so they're probably gonna have some good skill players.
Right.
And I mean, they're only 6 years removed from winning the state championship, so they're probably going to provide some competition.
Well, looking forward to the game, and last year we started off with 4 straight home games.
Yeah, we played the Mercer game, and then we had 4 in a row here.
So this year,
We'll have 3 of the first 5 at home.
3 of the first 5 at
6
home.
all.
But we got to go to Jackson
Got
next
to go to
week.
Peach too.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
And those games don't start till 8 o'clock, so it's like a midnight drive back from each
gosh,
game.
yes, because it was ugly last year. Did they lose a lot of seniors? To what do we
They
know?
lost a lot of people from the team that played. They should have won state.
Oh, good.
The refs hosted.
Oh gosh,
them.
we're going to hear about that all.
Yeah,
for
but
years.
I hear they have a lot of transfers, and they've got a junior linebacker that's already committed to Clemson, Sergio Allen. So
Okay, so they're going
they're gonna have some good players.
Won't be a walkover.
This might be the season MP has a chance to beat them, though. I mean, it's been since '02, I think, since MP got a win in that series. So
Well,
this will be their best shot, probably.
well, you know, they always want to talk about. They're going to want to talk about the call that wasn't. Is that right?
Yeah.
Pass interference. Is that what it was?
Um,
They were trying. They were.
I can't even remember.
The go-ahead
at this
score.
point. Yeah, I mean,
So they were trying to protest and all this stuff.
I can't.
and-
Is that what? I can't remember what the
They
call
were just
was.
about to score.
I know they should have won the game by all intents and purposes, but
And then the other, the one we think about, the one I always want to bring up, is that 20-0 lead that we blew.
19-0.
Oh gosh, 2 years ago,
That was the last trip down there.
19-0. Golly.
Well, the worst part about that game is after they came back. I mean, they came back because they were a great team, and there wasn't really anything MP did. They just came back. But then MP did drop the ball when we would have scored the game-winning
That's
touchdown
right.
after their comeback. MP should have won the game 26-20, but we dropped a wide-open pass, and
You had to remind me.
yeah, so that was kind of the hard part of that one. But maybe this will be the year Mary Perkins finally gets revenge.
I hope so. I hope so. Well, we're about out of time, folks. Be sure to pick up a copy of next week's big Mary Persons preview. We'll have cheerleading, band, and of course the football team, and read all about Richard as the best in-depth coverage of Mary Persons football anywhere. Does Macon cover the Bulldogs anymore?
I don't know about this year.
Do a couple
They did
paragraphs.
last year. I don't know if
Is
they
there
will.
anybody left down there to
I
cover?
don't know that. I can't answer that for you.
You-
We'll see. We'll see next week.
Yeah.
When it shows up.
We know that.
I'm thinking the boot's just gonna be me this year, but I don't know that for sure.
Well, they print so early they can't even get the game in there on Saturday morning anyway.
They got a thriving website.
There you
That's
go.
what they-
So stay tuned. Yeah, next week's paper. You're not
If
going to
they're listening
find.
to this, they're gonna challenge us by bringing somebody up here.
Well,
Just
we'll say we copied them. We copied their radio show.
That's what we do.
But anyway, thanks for joining us on the Reporter on the Air. I hope you have a good rest of a good week. We are into well into August now, Richard. Football is kicking off. It's hard to believe.
I wish we'd wait a little bit later.
I do too. I'm ready for cooler weather for sure.
Well, just school starting and first day of August is pretty ridiculous.
It is. It is. But you know why? I think the reason they do that is to get in a semester before Christmas.
That's what they say.
That's my theory.
I think so. They can have all these breaks during the year.
Oh yeah.
holidays and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah. Let's take another long weekend. We're becoming Europe. That's what's happening. We're becoming
We need
Europe.
our Wednesday afternoons
Four-
off like they do in France.
Take a siesta. 4-day work week. 3-day work week. Nobody wants to work. I was talking to a business owner this morning, and he was saying it's never been harder to find good help, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. Kind of the flip side of the down economy, of the better economy that I believe President Trump's policies have brought about, and you know the other, when businesses start growing and start hiring, you have fewer people available for jobs. I think one thing we could do is gut these welfare programs that would probably help people go back to work.
Funny thing is, yeah, when I interviewed the football coach about the season, he was talking about how kids today can just ask for Air Jordans and they get them the next day. And he said football is the only thing you really have to work for in life. And then I went to interview the band director, and he said, all this instant gratification these kids have, band is the only thing that, that you have to work for. to get
Whatever they're
there."
doing is the only thing saving our society from utter collapse and decadence.
So I told him, but since the band director went second, I told him, actually the other coaches claimed that for football.
Yeah, too late. Too late. You can't use that. Well, they're both right. Is the truth. It is good to get kids off the couch and involved. And it's also good to be knowledgeable, to know what's going on. And so pick up a copy of the Reporter, get involved in your community, and we'll look forward to seeing you here next week on the Reporter on the Air. Thank you, Richard.
Bye.